I'm kind of curious what people's thoughts are and how Europe is going to survive right now, because it seems like the major economies in Europe are starting to really crumble.
Define survive.
You got Germany. Germany is pretty much just totally screwed itself.
It's getting worse by the day. Yeah.
One of the big announcement, I think, from Germany was that they declared that unconditional support for Israel. So it's like,
you cannot.
And then
they cannot do.
They said they will not stop selling. They said they will not stop.
Forget that.
Yeah, they say they will not stop selling weapons to Israel.
Yeah,
that was like, huh? You're gonna sell to Ukraine, and then now you want to sell to Israel? How are you gonna survive, man?
No. For the Israel thing, it's a history.
Schultz did something even worse. Sorry, shut up. Schultz did something even worse because, as you guys know, Nicaragua brought in Germany to the court because they were selling weapons, knowing that might be a case of genocide, and the sentence of the court was that there wasn't enough proof that Germany was selling little weapons to be used in Gaza. And Schultz and the Germans actually presented in court saying that they were not selling any weapons any little weapons to Israel. And now Schultz said, we have been selling weapons to Israel and we'll keep selling weapons to Israel. How stupid is that guy? He's so stupid. Sorry, Shadowy. Sorry for cutting you.
To answer the question of John, who is not here anymore, and about the future of Europe. First, I think we have to separate two things in Europe. We have European Union with a political entity, which I think has no future, and with Europe as a continent. As a continent, and there's a lot of countries in Europe, from UK to Italy to Norway. They have a future because the country is not going to disappear. The population are not going to die. Okay, they are going to stay here. But I think the economical situation is going down most of the time. I'm going to add something which is very funny because I think a lot of people in this forum love to speak about this topic. For me, they love it too much. I think that in a few years we are going to have a reverse of immigration. Basically, a lot of people who come in Europe for works on safety, they are going to come back in their own country because it's going to be safer in Africa, and most of the time more economically interesting in Africa than in Europe. In 2 years, we are going to have something like that.
Well,
shut up.
Please.
Hey, you have to remember, every time Europeans come to Africa, things don't turn out okay. No.
But it's going to be the I don't know. At a point, I think a lot of people in Africa are going to choose to stay in Africa, maybe in another country in Africa, but to not come to Europe. And already today, most of the African immigration is inside Africa.
Yeah, most people actually, like, for example, so the president of Kenya was being attacked by almost everybody because he was flying around like South Korea and all those countries, asking those countries to basically take Kenyans for jobs, right? And Kenyans were saying, we don't want to leave, dude. They create the jobs here. We don't want to go over there, because nobody really wants to go to other countries to go work at places that will likely be hostile towards them. Nobody really wants that. Everybody wants to be around their cousins, their brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to. What did I go and do in South Korea? And do what there? Learn a new language, learn a new culture, all that stuff, while at the same time working out. If I was rich and I went there as a tourist, I can have time for that. But when you're working, it's a whole other different thing.
Yes.
But anyways, what Shadavi was saying, that Europeans will go away, this already happened, especially with Portugal in 2011, when the Germans were preparing to receive Portuguese engineers and so on. They were finding them houses for them to stay, but the Portuguese engineers all went to Africa very gladly.
Why?
Angola never had so many Portuguese. Not even during the colonial time they had so many Portuguese back then. Well, it can happen. But going back to the European economy.
Wait, Pratap. Wait. Why are the Portuguese preferring Angola over Germany? I don't understand.
Because there, it's an adventure. It's something. It's not a boring place in Europe with with bad climate. They want adventure. They want good climate. They want people that are happy and constructive, and they don't want to be in a depressive place. It's as simple as that. And also because the
sounds like true
language.
Portuguese. Sounds like true Portuguese from the colonial era. Is like the brave, adventurous Portuguese going overseas.
I think they were well received, and it's a different situation. For you see, sometimes I say it's good that the Portuguese left the colonies after the discolonization, and there were a lot. So in comparison to French in that country, there was a lot of Portuguese in these countries, and they left. And so I think because they left, today we can return, and that the resentment is not there anymore. We are not talking
and
about.
You speak the same language, right? And
yes,
you speak
exactly.
the same language, right?
But the Angolans don't see, like, for instance, the whites control 90% of the territory of the farming land, like it was in Zimbabwe or is still in Namibia. So I think it was good. It was a big suffering for many people that had to leave and left without anything. But today we can look at Angola and the resentment. It's not the same. You don't see the Portuguese. Okay, yes, you were there. There is historical phenomena, but then you come back now and you are at the same level. You're not the owners of the land. You're not the ones responsible for social inequality and so on. So that was an important factor, and also the reason why people felt so well, not just in Angola, but also in Mozambique. There was also growing less because Mozambique is still, unfortunately, a very poor country. And it was interesting. But on the other side, going back to because that was a question from Goy, the news from Germany from this week are very bad. We have a Ministry of Economy that doesn't recognize that all these effects are the cause effect of his stupid policies, especially energetic policies. He says that no, these are structural problems. This has nothing to do with us. This has nothing to do that Germany doesn't have any more cheap energy. Of course not. So I think in the beginning of this open mic today, I said that there was very distressful news that the producers of big machinery used in other factories, were in really bad shape. They had almost no orders, and then I said, well, this is really worrying because it doesn't just tell us about the economy in Germany, which is stopped, is in recession, is not investing, is not growing. This is also about Europe, because they produce for all Europe, and they produce also for the rest of the world. So this is a very,
and
very
they
bad
produced
news.
past tense for Russia too.
And they also, Russia was the good market. They still have it.
Oh, yes.
So the other news was that actually they were supplying Russia, which they shouldn't. And these machineries, they are used on the production of military goods, on many other things. So it's quite interesting. On the other side, we have it was the previous week, there was news that the business feeling was very low. So people didn't believe that the economy was going on. So the businessmen, the guys that make decision making. So this index also gives you a kind of a vision into the future, how the economy will really develop. So that's also very bad numbers. And secondly, or last but not least, I think the government, there is the sense that the German coalition government is not going to stand, it's not going to last. And this also produced a lot of bad bad perspectives in terms of investment, because we don't know, will they change, the next government, will they change the green policy or not? Do we really have to make these conversions or not? So there is a lot of open things in the air. So the lack of trust into the government plays a lot on it. And when we understand that Germany is the engine of Europe, so Europe doesn't work without Germany. Germany is the one that really produces things in Europe. And if we understand that this is like this, then France is in a bad state. Everybody is in really bad shape. And on the other side, we see social crisis coming everywhere. In Portugal, for the first time, there were, I never remember ever saw something like this. Demonstrations anti-migrants, because there is not enough housing. The reason was housing, but was the first ever recorded demonstrations when people went to the street, anti-migrants, because there is not enough houses. So Europe is really digging digging a hole. Nobody cares about the problems of people. This is incredible. When we see people going to the streets in Portugal, asking for more housing. This would be actually be great to relaunch economy, but that would be also in Germany. There is also a lack of housing in Germany. They could relaunch the economy investing in housing, but they don't want to. And this is really strange. Why don't they want to invest in housing?
Because
Why are they
people have no
blocking
more
everything
money
there?
to pay for them.
No, constructing houses is a good way of relaunching an economy. These are things that really are needed. They'll be used. This is important things. People need to feel well. People, if a society is in stress, they won't be as productive if they have some sense of perspective for the future. Go on, Nunia. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with everything Prada just said. To answer the question on the future of Europe, I think I've been pretty consistent on my opinion of that since I've been on this open mic, but I don't see Europe having a whole lot of future. I mean, obviously, as Shadowy said, there's still going to be people living there. There's still going to be, businesses running and stuff, but it's going to be at a vastly reduced standard of living. And the way I kind of see it is Europe was more or less supposed to be finished off after World War II, right? UK was done, Germany was finished, Italy was finished. And when you really start to look under the hood of Europe and you think about what's there, there's not a whole lot, in terms of like natural resources and things like that. There's not a whole lot in Europe, yeah, sure, there's the odd mine, but nothing, comparable to some of the bigger nations in the world that produce that sort of stuff, such as Canada and Russia. They were getting a lot of that stuff from Russia. So now we're seeing how fragile the European economy is because of this conflict. As Prada rightly just said, Germany was the economic engine of all of Europe. Everything was being manufactured in Germany from imported materials, by the way. So there's a reason why all of these European countries have been colonial powers for years. They had to go all other places to get those resources because they weren't in Europe. So the way I kind of see Europe now is without, cheap resources, particularly the cheap Russian gas and stuff, I cannot see how they can be competitive anytime soon. It's going to take decades for their living standards to get so low for them to be competitive again. So go ahead, Nakietti.
So these issues, they were predicted. I keep reminding people of some of these things, like that paper by the Rand report called Extending Russia. It had clearly predicted that this war with Russia would have this particular set of consequences. They knew it, but they believed it was worth the risk, right? And again, why? Because I tell people don't listen to these politicians when they appear on CNN, on Fox News, on BBC. They are BSing. The only times you want to listen to these people and know exactly why they're doing what they're doing, they have to be under oath. That's when they can say a little bit of truth. or two, when they're talking in their think tanks, because the target audience is not the general public. And that's why those conversations in think tanks will never appear on like cable news, because they want to talk to like the liberal elites, but they don't want the whole public to basically hear it. And what you hear from them is a couple of things. So one, they can't leave Russia neutral if they go after China. So that's the one message you're getting there. So there's a high possibility this whole conflict was created exactly that, to get Russia to make a deal of some sort and have them stay neutral, or at least weaken them to a point where they're not a threat when they decide to play their games in Asia, right? So, but the West, I think, believes this conflict was necessary because, again, these people don't think they can survive. I have a feeling like the economies have an expiry date, right? If you look at their debt to GDP ratios, countries like Japan have 250%. I don't think I'm smart enough to even understand what that actually means, but man, like that's a lot of debt. Like you're literally, I'm assuming you're making less than you're actually spending. Countries like the United States is way over 150%, right? Russia right now is at 17%, which is like insanely incredible. It's crazy how they decided to handle that. But the point I'm making is, I don't think these economies can sustain themselves the way we assume they sustain themselves. I think, as I've always assumed, I think they play around with I know they call it printing of money, but I think they just add zeros to accounts, and that's generally how they're surviving. But I don't think they're going to have their issues will get worse if other countries grow stronger. Like, let's say, I'll give an example of like Africa. When everybody in Africa gets the stuff they want, the stuff average people want. Everybody wants a good television. Everybody wants a good refrigerator. When all those people get whatever they want, a lot of the people in these think tanks believe that it's not sustainable. It means the people in the West will not be able to afford the same things. So they have many reasons why they play these games.
I think Shadow V is next because just now he raised his finger like
No.
for
Someone
no more.
else.
Okay, you
I
roll,
forget
right?
what I wanted to say. So
Hi guys, how's my voice?
Right, you roll. Good.
very nice.
Very
No problem,
sexy.
very true.
Yeah, different headphones, so I'm not sure how they work.
It's super good.
Well, excellent. Let's talk about climate change.
No.
They okay. They show the chart. You have a little bit upswing in temperature, and they predict the future to keep going linearly. Linearly, everything is linear, right? Demographics, linear.
If that's the
We
case,
are
I'm a
like
billionaire
losing
now.
people. Okay, we are losing people, and it's gonna continue linearly. Say straight line. A little bit of recession in Germany, and you guys talking about linear future. It's going in the same straight line. Never happened in history. But how when you guys hear some political bullshitter on the mainstream, you keep repeating the same thing. Oh, the great Europe is over. Somebody pronounced it, and you keep repeating it. This is not analysis, okay? What you guys talking? That's not analysis. It's a recession in Germany. It's a recession. It's temporary. You guys check the growth rate in Germany, and it's temporary. Okay, in 2010, Germany was a laggard of Europe. They called it laggard of Europe. Why? Because it was stagnating in growth, and now a little bit of recession and it's over. What kind of analysis is that, guys? Come on.
Hey, a quick question for
There's
you.
no
Like,
linear. There's
What
no
do you,
linear
how-
thing.
I'm not talking about what's going to happen in the next 2 years. What about the next 30 years? Like, where is the growth going to come from? Are they going to come up with new inventions, or
I'm not prophet, sorry, but I know that there's no linear.
Well,
You
so
guys
30 years
pretend
is
to be
actually
prophet.
I'm not
30 years
seeing
is
any magical technology being created in Europe in the next 30
Not
years
about
that's going to get
you
him out
don't
of
need
this hole.
magical. You
No, I
don't
will
need
say that
magical technology. It's about growing the middle class
it's
instead
not
of
just that.
oligarchs
It's just
stealing all the money.
I'm not
It's only
seeing that
about that.
either.
It's only about
No.
that. Yes, that's very difficult. Yes, that